I was in Lubok last week. We had a meeting, the major superiors, the men major superiors had a meeting, and I visited our churches. We visited Lubok, Loon is terrible. Although we did not really start Loon. So we started Loon, but we did not build the church as you see it now. It's really raised to the ground. Then Baclayon Church, of course, and then Dawis, that was a visita of Baclayon. Because there's a bridge here actually. You're familiar with Lubok. There's the unfinished bridge. Sa pagmamadali, pumunta na ako dun sa bridge. And my other companions, the other provincials, the Dominicans, the Agustinians, they started looking at the place and they found this thing here. That is actually the altar. No? And when that altar, before the earthquake, there was a retablado, a wooden panel. But you cannot anymore see what was behind the retablado. But actually, after the earthquake, lo and behold, St. Ignatius of Loyola. And nagkantsawan sila. Who did it? Actually, after we left, the Recollects took over our churches in Samar, in Bohol, and the Franciscans. And then, mabuti na lang walang Recollects because the Dominican say, naku, nangyari yan, naku, mahiya talaga ako sa inyo. Because it was as if, they didn't want this mold of St. Ignatius to appear. So they put a retablado. But only the earthquake could restore the image of St. Ignatius. So I'll try just to respond to these questions, context of the restoration, the meaning of the restoration of the society, and what are the challenges for us. Well, of course, I'll highlight in the restoration, we're so grateful to Empress Catherine the Great and White Russia. That is where you have the areas of Russia, Belarus. She said, Jesuits are welcome because they were providing good education for the youth. So they had to ask Rome, can you recognize us officially? Do we exist or not? So that was the question. And then the response of the Pope Pius XVI, clever. May the result of your prayers as I foresee and you desire be a happy one. Clever. That was clever. This bishop in Russia who was rather self-serving, he volunteered to be the one, he gave some indication that I'll be the one to be the one in charge of Russia. And maybe I could then suppress the Jesuits. So in Rome said, you'll be the one in charge. And then this bishop said, oh, Jesuits, you can now start opening the novitiate. You can now begin doing this. You can now begin doing that. Because of course he wanted to have some point. There were already some Jesuits in Europe operating. Notice that even before 1814, the year when we were already restored, there were already Jesuits operating in parts of Italy, and of course, obviously, in Russia, in Prussia, and in Austria. So that then led to further steps. You have this great guy, Father Joseph Pignatelli, who was actually the link between the old society and the new society. So there were arrivals from White Russia who came over, and he met them, and he opened the novitiate in 1799. Of course, the novitiate is the lifeblood of the society. Without novices, then we're done. No? Document Solicitudo Omnium Ecclesiarum. This document affirmed the Society of Jesus in that they withdrew the brief issued by Clement XIV. So in the Philippines, we know that. The arrival of the first Jesuits after the Restoration, Jose Cuevas and 9 other Jesuits, and they started Escuela Pia Ateneo de Municipal de Manila. Note that when they came here, their main objective was to go to Mindanao and Jolo, because that was our former mission. How on earth did Ateneo de Manila come about? Well, nakiusap sila, yung authorities, if you could run this school for the mestizos and so forth and so on while waiting. And of course, December, they started opening class, and then the rest of history unfolded. So Ateneo de Manila was found it by chance. Because their orientation was really to go to Mindanao and Bulo. That was their mandate. It took them so long to reach Mindanao. Finally, they reached Tamuntaka in 1863, and then Zamboanga, and then they had a parish there that was set up. We just celebrated this 150th sesquicentennial, the one in Tetuan in Zamboanga. Jesuits are dying left and right. In May, we lost 4 Jesuits in 14 days. And so I had to tell the congregation in one funeral mass, I am tempted to issue a moratorium on death. So please, but if you have to go, please ask permission. Father Carol did not follow my instruction. What's the meaning? Well, the obvious meaning of the restoration is that it's the affirmation of the society's mission. There is continuity, obviously, because it's about the same spirituality that we're talking about. It's the spirituality, the charism of St. Ignatius. But obviously, there was discontinuity. We lost our property. Thank God we lost our property, because we had an estate there in Calamba, and Rizal's father was a tenant, and that was bought eventually by one person and bought by the Dominicans. Otherwise, Noli would have been rewritten in a different fashion. These Jesuits, land grabbers. We owned places like Guadalupe, an estate there in Makati. We owned Nasugbu, Lian. We had tremendous influence. So this is something very spiritual that, thank God, we were suppressed, and therefore we have to start from scratch. So there was a bit of discontinuity. We lost our ministries, our influence, and that's why the general is so clear in stressing that it should not be a triumphalistic celebration. It's not about the return of the glory of the Jesuits or the power of the Jesuits, and sometimes we can be into that mode. But it's, I think, rather it's an invitation to humility. You know, sometimes Jesuits are very difficult. We can be known for other qualities, but not humility. And I think we transfer that to our students. Have you ever heard somebody say, "Oh, the Ateneans, they are the most humble people on earth"? So anyway, it's not your fault. It is our fault. It was a new beginning for us. We grappled, we struggled, and it was not easy going to Mindanao. We had to start all over again. I think one of the striking points here is that it is really, if any, it's really a restoration of a spirituality. But the Ignatian spirituality is, no, you are in the thick of finding God in all things while you are active in your ministry, where you're active in your own life. This is not about discerning between right or wrong or evil and good. No, it's discerning what more is God asking us to do. It's mission-driven, and therefore you have this ad maiorem Dei Gloria, for the greater glory of God. Sometimes the problem with Ignatian spirituality is the inability to come to terms with illness and with diminishment, because sometimes it's so mission-driven, and therefore if I don't see any mission in my life, then that's difficult. You know what can be difficult for Jesuits? When we get sick and when we're no longer, as active as we want to be. Mission is not simply work. Mission is what the Lord is asking. Lord, so ang source namin of future Jesuits who will replace Father Jet and myself is getting lower and lower, and it's an aging population, and coupled with that is an increasing demand in terms of the ministries. So good luck to the future of this province. Anyway, so partner with our ministries, or like-minded ministries, or ministries who share our mission. Finally, this is just where we are, the deployment of Jesuits. You see here, the education is nearly 30% of our men are in education, and here we have international works, retreat ministry, which is a very important ministry, and then That's it.